Have you ever wondered what the answer is to the age-old question, does car insurance follow the car or the driver? A lot of people just aren't quite sure. They feel a little fuzzy about it, and that's okay because the answer is a little fuzzy. But we'll try to clear things up for you today. And we're going to start by looking at this article by Travelers Insurance. So it's written by an insurance company, so you kind of depend on what they're saying, at least as far as their insurance company goes, which is kind of the model that most insurance companies follow. And before we get started, head over to quote.com, enter your zip code into the auto insurance quote comparison tool, and find out how much you could save when you compare quotes and switch providers. It could be hundreds of dollars a year. So in this article here, you see that we have this question, car versus driver coverage. And like I said, it's a little fuzzy. Their first answer is, the answer isn't so cut and dried. Insurance coverage varies. So while there is kind of a general, this is the way things work, not all insurance providers follow that same general guideline. So before you depend on what I'm saying, you need to check with your insurer and make sure that they are saying that their policies agree with what I'm saying. When I rented a car several years ago, I called my insurance company to find out if there'd be any holes in my coverage, and I got a very clear response very quickly. It's easy to do. You want to always make sure rather than just hoping for the best and then the worst happens and then you find out that you don't have the coverage that you thought you had. So these are more general guidelines about insurance coverage, and hopefully you'll learn something. You'll have an idea in your head of what your insurance company will probably cover, and then you can confirm it with your company to make sure that you're not without coverage, because that would be bad. So generally, there are coverages that can follow you or your car. In fact, generally, when you're talking about just a normal, I'm driving my friend's car, or my friend's borrowing my car, or something like that, just your everyday, unprofessional, friend to friend, maybe visiting family member, generally the car insurance coverage follows the car primarily, especially when you get into specialty coverages. Now, if there is no primary coverage on the car, your insurance coverage will take over. So, and even if there is coverage on the vehicle that is being driven, if it's a major accident, sometimes the driver's insurance policy will come in as secondary coverage. So insurance truly covers both the car and the driver, but first it covers the car. So, next question. Does my car insurance cover other drivers who operate my vehicle? The answer is yes in most situations. Now, if you are, in some scenarios, you may be living with somebody that's a really high risk driver, and you may decide to exclude them on your policy just so that you don't have to pay rates that reflect their level of risk. In that case, that driver is not covered by your insurance policy. If they are an excluded driver, they are not covered. But other people are covered if they're not excluded. And what it comes down to here is if other people drive your car with permission. So if your friend just popped over and took your car and wrecked it, your insurance company wouldn't cover that unless they had talked to you first and you had given your permission. If they did not get permission from you and they wrecked your car, their insurance policy, the person that was driving, would have to cover the loss, or the person driving would have to cover the loss depending on how that situation works out. And then drivers who are not on your policy might also be covered in the following situations. When family members visit your home, maybe your parents are visiting, or maybe your children, your adult children are visiting, and they're coming to your house, they fly in, and you let them use one of your cars while they're visiting. That generally your car insurance coverage would cover the car, and then when they're driving your vehicle. When you're taking a road trip with somebody and you take turns driving, the insurance on the vehicle will cover that. And when friends and family borrow your car when theirs is being repaired, it's another scenario that could happen. Especially if you have good friends, you can borrow their car instead of renting a car. Now, once we get out of that normal situation where it's friends borrowing, relatives borrowing, that kind of a thing, then it's not so straightforward where the insurance covers the car. We're going to look at next paid car sharing and how that works with insurance. But before we jump into that, head over to quote.com, enter your zip code into the auto insurance comparison tool. It'll walk you through some questions, you'll answer them, and then you'll get several car insurance quotes at once that you can compare and see if maybe the insurance company you have right now isn't the best fit for you, and you may be better off switching to another provider. So here in the paid car sharing, once you get into a business, basically paid car sharing, it's not as straightforward as just letting someone borrow your car. That's just a normal incident. This is something special, and it requires special coverage. So in most cases, your insurance will not extend to other drivers if they're paying to use your car. So you see, car sharing has become quite popular in recent years. There's Turo, there's other peer-to-peer car sharing, kind of like, it's almost like a rental. And those companies that operate those car sharing sites, they will require drivers who rent out their vehicle to have insurance coverage offered through their partner insurer. And so that has to happen. There has to be really a primary insurance, but different from what you would have on it as your own personal vehicle. That insurance that's through the car share company is what will become the primary coverage when your car is being rented by another party. It's really important that you understand that. You can't rent out your car and expect your car insurance coverage to cover it, because your personal car insurance policy is built around the risk that you present as an individual. And when you add in a whole lot of unknown risk, because you have no idea who's borrowing your car, that your car insurance company is not prepared to assume those risks. And so that's why you have these companies that kind of work out all those details, like Turo, so that you can rent your car out without having to figure all that out. You just do what they tell you to do for the car insurance coverage. And then, as I mentioned before, excluded drivers, they are not covered by your policy. Commercial activities, if you're driving your car for work, your car insurance coverage isn't going to cover it for you driving, much less somebody else driving it. And then, does your car insurance cover you when driving another vehicle? And like I said, it usually does in that case of borrowing from friends and relatives. It's just that it may be secondary to the insurance that the vehicle has on it by the owners of the vehicle. I'm going to jump over here to quote.com because I have this great graphic explaining different types of insurance, different types of accidents, how you're covered by each. And so you can see here for tornadoes and weather events, you're talking comprehensive coverage is what you need. Comprehensive coverage is specifically for a vehicle. So that coverage stays with the car because it's specific to the car that's being driven. we have an explanation of a deductible. And a deductible is the policyholder's responsibility before the insurance policy will kick in with the remainder of the financial protection. We have an example of a crash involving bodily injury and how that works with one person or more than one person being injured. And you see over here we have a repair shop, and this is just a great graphic if you're kind of confused. Like, it's kind of fun to look at, and it explains all these different things about car insurance, and you can find this on quote.com, Auto Insurance Visual Guide. And you just might want to look through that and kind of clear up your understanding of insurance. So before we finish things out today, I want to remind you to go to quote.com, compare car insurance quotes, and see if you could save even $50 to $100 per month and maybe several $100s per year by switching companies. Sometimes we just get used to who we're with and we stop wondering if we're with the best company for our needs. And as time progresses, as your life changes, as you get a new car, you buy a house, you get married, all these things, your insurance risk will change, and some companies may be a better fit that maybe they weren't before. So every 6 months, every time you go through a life change, compare auto insurance quotes, and don't settle for paying more than you have to, because it's easy to switch.